So I'm hoping this video is a lot shorter than the previous video, but I have a lot of information, and so you always feel free to fast forward. So I'm actually going to start with proving Pythagorean theorem. I think this is actually pretty interesting with what you guys knew last class. So what you're given is, and so say we didn't know Pythagorean theorem, but we know that this angle, we know that angle ABC is right. And if BD is an altitude, I know that angle is right and that angle is right. And we know from the last section that this triangle, when you draw the altitude, is split up into three similar triangles. And I'm going to use the shortcut formulas, but so we start talking about the things that we know are true. I know that I know a squared, my leg squared, is equal to part of my hypotenuse, which is E, times my whole hypotenuse, which is C. That's the first thing I know. I also know b squared, my other leg squared, is equal to part of my hypotenuse, which is F, times my whole hypotenuse. That was from last class. So I know b squared is equal to F times C. I know a squared is equal to E times C. So leg squared is equal to part times whole. If you want the proportion, of course, I know hypotenuse over leg, so A over E is equal to hypotenuse, which is C, over the corresponding leg, which is A. So you can do the proportion. So I know that these two are true, and anytime I have two things that are equal to each other, as long as I add the same thing, since they're both equal, I can add the same thing to both sides, they're also equal. So I know that a squared plus b squared is equal to E times C plus F times C. And this is a cute little proof. Okay, all I did was I added each side. Okay. Now I notice that both of these have C, so I know a squared plus b squared is equal to, I factor a C out, so I divide each part, and that's going to be E plus F. Something that I notice, I know E plus F is equal to C. So I'm going to replace this E plus F with C, so I have a squared plus b squared is equal to C times C. And what must be true? Leg squared plus leg squared is equal to hypotenuse squared. It's just a nice, cute little proof using geometric mean. But I just proved to you Pythagorean theorem, because the triangles are similar, that leg squared plus leg squared must be equal to your hypotenuse squared. I just like that one. I think that's cute. Okay, so a hypotenuse is the longest side of your right triangle. It is always opposite the right angle, and a leg is always adjacent to the right angle. And so your legs make up. So this is a leg, this is a leg, and your actual right angle points to the hypotenuse. So Pythagorean theorem, in a right triangle, the square of the length of the hypotenuse is equal to the sum of the squares of the lengths of the legs. Okay, and that's always true. Leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. So, so in this case, it would be a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You don't need a, b, and c, because it's always going to be leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. So first thing, we determine whether these are true or false. So if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, is b squared plus a squared equals to c squared? Yeah, because those are just legs. So I know that this is actually going to be true. If I take c and I subtract a squared, is that equal to b squared? So the next one is also true. If I take b squared and minus c squared, do I get a squared? Well, no, I can't rewrite that. Because if I subtract, so if I have a squared plus b squared equals c squared, if I want the b, I'd have to subtract b squared. And that would be a squared is equal to c squared minus b squared. I always have to do the bigger minus the smaller, so this would be false. I know this one definitely is false because I know a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. This one is just written backwards, and this one is also true. Pythagorean triple, these are actually really important to recognize. Hopefully one of your teachers has gone through. So it's a set of three integers that satisfy the equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, so 3, 4, 5 is a Pythagorean triple because 3 squared plus 4 squared is equal to 5 squared. So a family of Pythagorean triples are just multiples of a Pythagorean triple. And these are time saving. I cannot tell you how great these can be. So 3, 4, 5 is a Pythagorean triple. If I take those and multiply them by 2, 6, 8, 10 is a Pythagorean triple. 6 would be a leg, 8 would be a leg, 10 would be the hypotenuse. Okay, if I multiply it times 3, 9, 12, 15 is also a Pythagorean triple. Okay, 5, 12, 13 is another Pythagorean triple, very well known. It can also appear as 10, 24, 26, because I can just multiply those by 2. Okay, 8, 15, 17 is a Pythagorean triple because 8 squared plus 15 squared equals 17 squared. This one is 5 squared plus 12 squared equals 13 squared. So 16, 30, 34 would be a Pythagorean triple. Okay. So find the unknown side lengths, simplify the answers or radicals, tell whether the side lengths form a Pythagorean triple. So this one right here, 5, x actually has to be 12. Why? Because this is a Pythagorean triple. Anytime I have two parts of the triple where the longest side is, or the largest number is the hypotenuse, that's always going to be triple. So in this case, I had a 5 and a 13. 13 was the hypotenuse. That's the hypotenuse of my Pythagorean triple, so x had to be 12. 5 squared plus x squared equals 13 squared. 25 plus x squared equals 169. X squared equals 144. Take the square root. You only need the positive root, and the answer is 12. So this is a Pythagorean triple. Okay, next one would be 6 squared plus 5 squared. So that one really wouldn't, if it's a Pythagorean triple, I'm not really requiring work. I'm hoping you guys can spot those. So 6 squared plus 5 squared, so that's 36 plus 25 is equal to x squared. That's going to be 61 is equal to x squared. X equals radical 61, and I don't think we can simplify beyond that. Yeah, so I can't think of anything. Last one. This one here would be radical 5 squared plus radical 8 squared is equal to x squared. Radical 5 squared is 5. Radical 8 squared is 8. This is x squared. 13 equals x squared. X equals radical 13. Okay, so those are kind of the simple ones. Make sure your answers are in simplest radical form. I should have included some problems that could be simplified a little bit better. So, next one. All right, it says in wall, how high up does the wall does the top of the ladder reach? Okay, so we have a wall. Here is our wall. Base of the ladder is 3 feet from the wall, so this is going to be 3 feet. Here is our ladder. Doesn't look like a sturdy ladder. It says the ladder is 10 feet. Okay. The wall is, unless it's definitely not the Leaning Tower of Pisa. And so we want to know how tall the wall is. And so there's our right triangle. So I know leg squared plus leg squared is equal to hypotenuse squared. X squared plus 9 is equal to 100. X squared is equal to 91. X is equal to radical 91. Okay, and that can't be, I don't believe that can be simplified. Oh, yes. Actually, no. 91 cannot be simplified because the only factors of 91 are 7 and 13. Okay. Each base in a standard baseball diamond lies 90 feet from the next. So you have your baseball diamond, which is a misnomer because it should be a baseball square. Okay, so there's our baseball diamond, our bases, right? Okay, and they're all 90 feet. They are all 90 feet from the next. Find the distance a catcher must throw a baseball from 3 feet behind home plate to second base. Okay, so we have him. He's 3 feet behind home plate, and he is throwing it to second base. Okay. So what I need to do is I actually need to find this distance here, and then I'm going to add 3 feet to it, okay? Because the 3 feet actually is not part of the diagonal, so it's from 3 feet behind home plate to second base. So how are we going to do that? We have our right triangle. I know 90 squared plus 90 squared is equal to x squared. 8100 plus 8100 is equal to x squared. Hey. Margaret. Okay, is 16,200. Sorry, guys. 16,200 is equal to x squared. So x is going to be the square root of 16,200. So we can simplify 16,200 if we want. I promise it's not going to be that bad. So we take that, divide by 2 is 8,100. Now 8,100 we already know the square root of, okay, which is 90. So my answer is going to be 90 radical 2, just as a spoiler. But if you don't know that, you take 8,100, you can divide that by 2, and it's going to be 4050. You can take that, divide that by 2, it's 2025. Let's see, take that, divide it by 3. I'm actually going to erase this. Divide it by 3, it's 675. Take that, divide it by 3 is 225. Divided by 3 is 75. Divided by 3 is 25. Divided by 5 is 5. Divided by 5 is 1. So if we wanted to simplify 16,200, if it is going to be, well, we have two 2's, so we have a 2, a 3. So we have a 2, a 3, a 3, and a 5 on the outside. There's a radical 2 on the inside. So 2 times 3 times 3 times 5, which is 90. So x is equal to 90 radical 2. But the distance, we could write it as 90 radical 2 plus 3 feet. Now, if I wanted that as a decimal, I'd multiply it out. So I'd do 90 times radical 2, and I'd add 3 to it. So that would be approximately, so my distance would be approximately 130.3 feet, if you will, if I were asking you to round to the nearest tenth. Okay, a standard doorway measures 6 feet 8 inches by 3 feet. What's the largest dimension that will fit through the doorway without bending? So a standard doorway is 6 feet 8 inches, or 6 feet and 8/12 of a foot. Okay. Or 6 2/3 feet. Okay. The doorway measures by 3 feet, and it's asking what's the largest dimension that will fit through the doorway without bending. So I'm trying to find this right here. Okay. So I'm going to use the 6 2/3 feet because we wanted to have it in simplest radical form. 3 times 6 is 18, so it's going to be, so it's 20, so this whole side is going to be 20/3, so it's going to be 20/3 squared plus 3 squared is equal to x squared. So 400/9 plus 9 is equal to x squared. 400/9 plus 81/9 is equal to x squared. 481/9 is equal to x squared. I take the square root of each part and simplify. So x is going to be equal to radical 481 over 3. If we want to approximate that, it would be about 7.3 feet. Okay, and this is for approximately. Okay. So, last one, I promise you. So if you travel 15 kilometers north, then 7 kilometers east, then 9 kilometers north, how far are you from your starting point? So we're trying to find this distance here, so we need to find our right triangle, okay? And so I make that the hypotenuse, and then I make the rest of the triangle from the other two sides. Now, I know this has to be 7, then this distance right here has to be 15. So this is going to be, so this whole side is 24. And so we want to know how far you are from your starting point. So I'm going to say this is x. So this is going to be 7 squared plus 24 squared is equal to x squared. So that's going to be 625 is equal to x squared. We take the square root. X is equal to 25.